Hello and welcome to JSB Talks Digital, the podcast for marketers, bloggers, business owners, and those of you bringing your skills into the digital age. I'm Joanne Sweeney-Burke, and this podcast is brought to you by Digital Training Institute. In this very special episode, I decided to have a look back at 2016 and share with you what I packed into this year at Digital Training Institute. So, over the course of the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to give you an insight into my year featuring JSB on stage, JSB online, JSB in boardrooms, and JSB in collaboration. This year, I made a conscious decision to ramp up the content I produce for Digital Training Institute. And so I set myself out a content plan, and guess what? I stuck to it. We all want to produce more content, but don't rush in hastily. Think about producing the content your community needs and give it to them consistently. I'm pretty determined, and when I have a plan, I am more likely to implement it than not to. I focus on what's priority, and I have a designed content calendar right beside me on my desk. The calendar shows me the topic, the publication date, and the online channel. I also wanted to give my community, made up of customers and non-customers, an omni-channel experience of Digital Training Institute. And so in 2016, I finally got behind the mic after a 14-year hiatus and in front of the camera and not as part of a reality TV show. First things first, it was time to redesign and relaunch our website, digitaltraining.ie, and this happened in February, and I began to blog weekly. My blog posts consist mainly of 5 types: social media how-to helpful posts, JSB Talks Digital blog posts, conference and event roundups, digital marketing strategy, and interviews. But I'm going to shake up the blog in 2017, and I'm currently working on next year's Master Content Marketing Strategy. Why not subscribe to my blog at digitaltraining.ie? Webinars are a hugely engaging and worthwhile piece of content to produce. 13 months ago, I joined Big Marker as one of their influencers, and I have delivered a free webinar to my almost 1,000 strong webinar community in that time. Big Marker is the world's largest webinar community, and I really love their platform. It's super easy to use and it has the best functionality. So far, I've hosted about 15 webinars, and that will increase next year as I refocus my efforts on paid content production. So watch this space. In the meantime, why not sign up to my community at bigmarker.com/Digital Training Institute. Do you read Social Media Examiner? I've been reading it for 8 years and always wanted to be a writer for them. This year, that ambition became a reality, and I have now submitted 6 articles to the world's #1 social media website. While attending Social Media Marketing World in San Diego in March, I had the opportunity to meet their managing editor, Lisa Jenkins. And from there, I sent my pitch and examples of my writing for review. It's not an easy process to get accepted, and their standards are obviously very high, but they provide you with great support and feedback. So I take 1 day a month to sit down and write my 1,500-word article for Social Media Examiner. The articles go viral and the social shares go off the Richter scale, and it has provided me with invaluable backlinks to digitaltraining.ie. But I've also honed my how-to writing skills, and I have benefited hugely from writing for their editorial style. So go check out all my articles at socialmediaexaminer.com/tag/Joanne-Sweeney-Burke. 2016 was the year I got back behind the mic, probably a place I feel really comfortable and happy. I had wanted to launch a podcast for about a year before I actually did anything about it. The reason for JSB's unusual procrastination? Well, simply it was finding the time to put the podcast together. Until I realised I just needed to find a producer who would work with me and I could deliver the content and record it. And my friends, that's when it happened, and why it's been happening every week since June of this year. Owen Murphy, who is right here with me now in the studio of Flirt FM on campus at NUI Galway, is my producer and editor, and I rock in for 1 hour every week, and that's my job done. Simple. I planned the podcast schedule and I have kept to that format for most shows. But when I do have a special episode, I will shake things up, just like today's show. I'd love you to subscribe to JSB Talks Digital. So go search for it on iTunes if you are an Apple iPhone user, or Stitcher if you are an Android user. This was also the year that I started writing my second social media book. And while it's not as far forward as I would have liked, it will get published in 2017. I am determined to make this happen. I published my first book, Social Media Under Investigation, Law Enforcement and the Social Web, in 2015. And it's been the most valuable business card I've ever had. It has brought me to the United States to speak, and it was the catalyst for my contract with the EPP group in the EU Parliament, as well as a number of other speaking and training opportunities. I have a huge interest in digital transformation in large conservative organisations, and by showing those types of clients how law enforcement is embracing the social web, it has opened up new doors and started new conversations for me. So please ask me how book number 2 is doing to keep me motivated. I launched my very first vlog series this month. The JSB Talks Digital vlog brings to life my podcast of the same name and my digital marketing and social media blogs at digitaltraininginstitute.ie. Vlogging is a natural extension of my digital storytelling, and just like my podcast, JSB Talks Digital has a number of features which appear on the channel as playlists. JSB's column, which is my musings and mutterings, JSB's digital diaries, I'll take you with me on my road trips, JSB's tip in a tweet, so I will share you my knowledge in 140 characters, JSB's featured interviews. As a former broadcast journalist, I love to interview people who are doing great things online. I'll also continue to share social media news from the social networks about feature updates, user stats, and more. And finally, Digital Bites with JSB, 2-minute tutorials, which will be a preview of my 90-minute online courses. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, Digital Training Institute, if you are learning more about digital marketing, social media, personal and business branding, and you'll get it in one place. Part of my job at Digital Training Institute involves speaking at conferences and other events here in Ireland and abroad. I absolutely love addressing audiences despite my nerves. I suffer from terrible nerves before going on stage, but I don't let them control me. I instead embrace the nerves and use that adrenaline to help me perform better. This year was full of fantastic speaking opportunities. I've created a photo album on my blog of all the events I spoke at, including Digital Citizenship Summit UK, the UK Big Data Retail Analytics Conference, which took place in London, Social Media Summit Ireland, Network Ireland Limerick event, the official launch of the Irish Blogger Agency. I've been to the EU Parliament twice. Sophie and I spoke on the Twitter stage at the Digital Citizenship Summit in San Francisco. I also spoke at the Northern Ireland Small Business Conference, the HISI Conference, the Health Innovation Showcase in the Science Gallery, and I also joined the Irish Blogger Agency for a second time at their event in Cork. Each and every year I invest in myself, usually with education. However, given I completed a 2-year master's degree 2 years ago, I am now turning to events to improve my knowledge and skills. The major event I attended this year was Social Media Marketing World in San Diego, which took place in March. I've written a blog post about it and it ranks on the first page of the Google search engine's results page. So when you do a search for the event, you get my article. 3,000 marketers in one convention centre for 3 days and the world's best speakers on all things social media. I absolutely loved Social Media Marketing World and I hope to return in 2017. 2016 was also the year of collaborations, and in this section I'm sharing clips from interviews I've done with 4 organisations I collaborated with: Digital Citizenship Institute, Irish Blogger Agency, the Marketing Success Summit, and eHealth Ireland.
Interview.
The story starts back in a middle school with young adolescents. I started teaching in 1993, and if I'm going to give any credit, it goes back to my own years of adolescence. And God bless those teachers, my own teachers that got me through those years. And so when I look at myself as a learner, I'm not surprised that, my own learning journey landed me in my first teaching position at a middle school, teaching 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So anytime I've ever talked about my digital citizenship journey, it starts with my teaching career. So I know our first summit was last October here on my college campus in West Hartford, Connecticut. But my story and my journey starts really when I wanted to become a middle school teacher working with young adolescents, because to me, it's about meeting the developmental needs of young adolescents. And that's really, and I feel like as the journey has continued, my focus has always been on students and encouraging student voice. And so when I look at my own teaching career, I was a middle school teacher. I was a middle school principal. I did my doctoral work on young adolescents at Boston College. Became a principal, and then I was an associate professor for the last 10 years working with teachers. And if I am to give credit there, when I was working with I worked with both undergraduate and graduate students. There was a graduate student way before her time. I don't know the exact year. It has to be probably around 2009. I was into, ed tech and social media, not specifically digital citizenship per se, not yet. But this is how the hook. She invited me into her 3rd grade classroom. And so those are, 7 and 8-year-olds. And there was like a tech event, and she had done this grant, and they all had these netbooks. And the event was for parents, and if students weren't able to have somebody special, come into the classroom for the event, she would come to the university and would ask for volunteers. So I had a group of 3rd graders, and I had a special group. They all had their netbooks out, and they started typing furiously, and they wanted to know immediately how to spell my name. And so I'm telling them how to spell my first name, and as they're typing it, they said, "We're going to see if you are socially responsible online." And Joanne, I took my breath away, because I wasn't aware of anybody doing especially students, 3rd graders, doing a search like that on me. I had never done one on myself up to that point. And I panicked. The cat was already out of the bag. What was going to show up? And the good news is, I grew up in the 80s, so there wasn't much about me. And it was such a teachable moment. And I love the fact that, my interest in really not just about being socially responsible with ed tech, but really diving in deep with the research of digital citizenship started because of this experience with 3rd graders.
JSB Talks Digital.
So 2 years later, blogging by night and banking by day, I had discovered that my career as a banker would be soon coming to an end, and I was made redundant. So I started to retrain, and digital marketing was my interest at the time. So I retrained in digital marketing, web design, and I set up my own business, Mini Media, just after leaving the bank in October of last year. And I knew the importance of influencers, and Into the West Blogger Network was making great strides, and we were collaborating with great brands, and I seen an opening there. There was no agency, nobody connecting brands and bloggers or influencers, and that's where the idea came. I built a database of over 500 bloggers and decided to set up the agency, and that's where we're at today.
JSB Talks Digital.
The thing was, in order to put on a big event, like a live event, it's quite difficult in the context of cost and getting people to go to it. So what I decided to do was to create an online version, which means people can watch from their homes, they can watch from anywhere around the world. It just makes it a lot easier. So I decided to make it free. Again, I feel there's a lot of startups, people that are transitioning from maybe one business to another, and they need the help, and they're just not quite sure where to get it. So that was kind of the genesis, if you like, of the Marketing Success Summit.
JSB Talks Digital.
Talk to me a little bit about the electronic health record and the individual health identifier, those two big projects that you're working on.
Okay, so individual health identifier first is something that's now built. It's ready to be rolled out as soon as the Minister signs the last part of the Act itself. What it does is it effectively acts as a bank account number. It It means that wherever your information is, it can be uniquely identified and attributed to you, and that's really important. It's not health information, it's absolutely demographic information, and very much an account number with healthcare.
And the electronic health record?
So EHR, the electronic health record, is 4 pillars of a large procurement: a community, an acute, an integration capability, and a summary care record. Different ways of deploying electronic capability into different care settings, giving us integration, allowing us to have integrated care.
Thanks as always for tuning in to JSB Talks Digital, and indeed for watching, engaging or hiring me this year. Without you, there is no JSB, and I love the interactions that we have online and offline. Relationships in business that work are those that are mutually beneficial. Never miss an episode of JSB Talks Digital. Make sure you subscribe on your smartphone, on iTunes, or on Stitcher if you are an Android user. You can also subscribe on SoundCloud. You know my promise by now. Give me 20 minutes of your time each week, and in return, I will empower you with digital marketing and social media knowledge. Stay in touch with me on Twitter at tweetsbyJSB or snap me at JSB Snaps. I'm Joanne Sweeney-Burke. This has been JSB Talks Digital. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you in 2017. For now, I'm off to celebrate my 39th birthday. I'm a New Year's Eve baby.
JSB Talks Digital.